we're live. Welcome to the USA Playbook Podcast. This is Nzube, and I'll be your host. In this episode and every other episode, we interview other international students to find out how they got scholarships, visas, and even US jobs. This is the podcast that saves you time as an international student. Joining us today is Esther Oyedele, a PhD student at the Virginia Tech. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nzube. It's really a pleasure to be here today to talk to your audience. So I'm glad to answer every of your questions. And yeah, it's an honor to be here today. Thank you for the invite.
Yes, thank you for, I would say, making a second appearance, because the first appearance where they've seen your face is the master class that we had. I think that was last year, me, you, and the other Esther, and it was a really helpful video for them. So to get things started, for those that have not met you, can you introduce yourself, your full name, where you're originally from, what you're currently doing, and which state you are at the moment?
All right, thank you. My name is Esther Oyedele. I'm originally from Nigeria, Osun State to be precise. I went to school for my undergrad at Federal University of Technology, Owerri in Imo State. And I'm currently a second year PhD student at Virginia Tech in the state of Virginia in the USA. And for my research, I use satellite data and hydrologic models to look at how drought impacts groundwater resources in the US.
Interesting.
Thank you.
Interesting. Okay, so you did your first degree at Federal University of Technology. What did you study there?
For my undergraduate, I studied geophysics. So I got a bachelor's of technology in geophysics from the Federal University of Technology, Owerri.
Okay. So what ignited your interest in studying abroad, and when will you say it was ignited?
That's a good question. I think it all started from, after undergraduate, going into NYSC during the NYSC period. I was working before my NYSC. I got a job at DigiConnect Nigeria Limited. It's an oil and gas company in Lagos, Nigeria. And I did my pre-NYSC there, and I got the opportunity to also stay there and serve for my NYSC. So that was my PPA, basically. And, during this period, we were all figuring out, we had this old group of energetic students then and go-getters. I have a clique of my friends, the like of David Nwori, the like of Toyosi Fatogun. Like, we're just close, even though we went to different undergraduate school, but we shared common goals. And we're like, okay, after this NYSC, what do we want to do? We want to go abroad to study. And in the company, we've had other people that have, worked in the company and have gone abroad for graduate school. So we picked up from their goal and we're like, I think we want to do this too. So we started, preparing, like, what do we want to do? Which country do we want to go to? Which schools do we want to apply? What are the steps? And we started doing that together. I would say personally, I think my interest stemmed from a desire to kind of like get advanced knowledge, get a better life at the end of the goal. Like, the whole essence of we going to school is to have a better life than we're being provided, or like, more also is also to kind of like make a good contribution in terms of like research or in terms of like whatever we want to do. Like, to me, I would say it's more like giving back to the environment, or giving back to the community, giving back to my people in terms of, even if I cannot relate with you personally, I want to be able to do a research that would impact you for a good living or for a good life. So I think that was one of the drive personally for me, apart from the motivation that came from my friend and my workplace also. So, yep.
Okay, these friends on this clique that you had, did you meet them there at where you were working? Was that where all of you met?
No, actually, so it all started like we had this group of friends from while we were undergrad. So
Okay.
we met at a conference, actually. It's called the Nigerian Association of Petroleum Exploration, is NAPI. I think that's one of the biggest international conference for oil and gas in Nigeria. And so whenever we would attend the conferences, as undergraduate students, whenever we would attend quizzes for oil companies like Chevron, Shell. They usually do exhibitions and they usually do quiz competitions for students. You see yourself, you see that this person, oh, this is a good student. You just want to be friends. So that's how we came close together, and then we started like networking with each other. Okay, I'm going for internship. I applied to this place. I applied to this place, and then
Mm.
fortunately we
Okay.
got accepted into the same company for internship, and that's how we became close friends, and we just grew together basically.
Right. Nice.
Thank you.
Okay, so now you have gotten the interest. Did you only focus on US, or were you were your options opened? Were you applying to other countries?
Initially, when we all started this journey, for me personally, my interest was never in the US. In fact, I wouldn't even say like I had US in mind. My priority then was to go to UK
Okay.
because master's there is short. It's just a year, and you'd be like you're done with graduate program and you can do whatever you want to do with your life. So my
That's fine.
priority was yes, yes. So then my priority was applying to schools in the UK. Like I applied to a lot. But one of the challenges I knew I faced then was, and the understanding I had was, applying for UK schools, you need to come with your own funding. You need to have your own money. So what I did then was I was applying to schools and I was applying for scholarships, external scholarships that will help me go to the UK schools. And I think another one was I was applying to Canada because then I had thought is a similar experience with the UK.
Okay.
USA came as a suggestion from a friend. So one of my friend that we were in this group together, we learned about this scholarship opportunity that pays for graduate test, the iScholar
Mhm.
initiative. So then it started in 2019.
Initiative. Okay.
Yeah, it started in 2019. And one of our mentors, so myself and David Nwore, one of our mentor in the oil and gas industry was the one that started the initiative. So he made a post on Facebook about, oh, this organization is going to sponsor people to do this. And then because David and I were working together in the same company, then he told me about the opportunity that, oh, why don't you consider USA? You would need these tests to do them. Like, what's USA? I don't even know like what they are doing. It was like, okay, just apply for this scholarship first. And if you get selected to get sponsorship for your graduate test, then you can read more about what applying to USA school is all about. So that is how I got engaged into, looking for opportunities for graduate school in the USA.
Okay. So you mentioned iScholar Initiative
Mm.
as an organization that pays for writing graduate tests. Okay, that's good. I just wanted to make sure we captured that. Okay, so now focusing on the US, which universities did you apply to? Now this is like for your masters. Which university did you apply to? And was it just in 1 year? You just did all your applications in 1 year, or how was the process for you?
Okay, thank you. So following um the knowledge about ISI, we call it ISI. It also stands for iScholar Initiative. Following that initiative, I applied for the scholarship and I was selected and I got funded for the graduate test. And that's when my work began, like in full time. Though I still had my UK schools I was applying to. I think by the time I even started applying for schools in the US, I'd gotten some offers already for the schools I applied to in the UK. But a
Okay.
lot of them just give like maybe 10% funding of the whole school fees. I'm like, I'm from a growing background financially. How can I
Right,
pay this
right.
amount of money? Even though I'm working, I don't have that much savings to pay for this graduate school. But then, so the iScholar initiative they linked us with mentors that knows like the routes about applying for graduate school and everything. So
Okay.
I got mentorship from them on, okay, this is what you need to do, how to prepare for the test. We all work together as a team, helping each other out in preparing for the test, in applying for schools. For those of us that were doing related courses, we shared experience about schools we applied to. So that's how I got into, okay, this is what I'm going to do for applying to schools in the USA. These are the schools that I want to apply to. I had to do my own homework in terms of researching schools that are doing the course I want to do.
Okay.
Also, I did my homework about the faculties that are doing the kind of research I want to do.
Mm.
So, with that in mind, I applied to about 12 schools.
Whoa. 12 schools. Wow.
It
Okay.
was a lot, and it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work. The
Wow.
12 of them, I didn't pay. application fee for the 12 of them personally.
Okay. Okay.
Some I got fee, application fee waivers.
Leave us. Okay.
Some I had some of my mentors pay for my application fee. Some
Wow.
I wrote to the school to request for waiver, like personally, given my own circumstances. And then few of them I paid application fee waiver for. I think I remember I applied to University of Kansas. I applied to Bowling Green State University, Ohio. I applied to University of Texas, El Paso. I applied
Mm.
to Ohio State University. I applied to Ohio University. Applied to University of Houston, Texas. I'd applied to University of Texas, Permian Basin. I had applied to Michigan Technological University.
Okay.
Um,
Into you.
yeah, I think these are some of the universities I applied to Baylor University. Yeah, that's a private university. I applied to Baylor University. Yeah, I think that's about the universities I can remember that I applied to. And I would say this just to put this out there. I was also on a group, like I said, we have a group of friends. I got invited to a WhatsApp group. It's called the GRE ASAS group. And this was the group that, everybody that is preparing for GRE in Nigeria kind of like join and we share like information. So on those platforms, I got recommendations for schools to apply to or like people looking for graduate students, some persons that were already in the US were like kind of like sharing information about that. And the group also helped me like in preparing for some of the tests and what to expect and the whole application packages as a whole. So I got lots of help from people on recommendations of schools to apply to, but I also did my own homework and did a lot of assignment and putting in the applications I would apply. For Bowling Green State University, I applied late. In fact, someone put it out there that, oh, this school is offering application fee waiver within this deadline. And, because I've been doing my homework and I've had all my packages ready, I just submitted my application like at the last minute before the deadline for the application
Yes.
fee. Yes. And out of these schools I applied to, I only got offers from four of them.
Okay.
Out of the four of them, I only got funding from one. Yes. And the only one I got funding from was the last school I applied that gave me application fee waiver, like the least I expected. Like I submitted
Wow.
an application based on I'm just going to submit. Like, I mean, it's free anyways. I don't have anything to lose. Most
Right.
universities that I had my high hopes on, that I've even spoken with research faculty members,
Mm.
some of them I didn't even get funding, and some of
Mm.
them I didn't get admission. So this is just to put it out there for the fact that you're putting out your application now, you're reaching out to faculty members, and in as much as you're hopeful, just know that it could work out and it could not. So don't think it's an automatic guarantee that you would be offered admission or you'll be offered full funding if you're in
Right.
communication with a faculty member. It just helps, right? It helps to be in contact with them because they can solicit for you on the admission committee that they've been in contact with you, they know you because of your work, because of how you've presented yourself to them or based on your interview with them, but it doesn't 100% guarantee that you will get admission or that you will get funding. Thank you.
Right. Because there's a committee. Right.
Yeah.
It's not an individual that decides. This is really a committee.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing all the universities that you applied to. Listening to them, I found out that I just kept on hearing two names repeatedly: Ohio, Texas. Ohio, Texas. Was that intentional? Were you intentionally applying to these states, or that's just where you saw the programs you're interested in?
Okay, thank you. So that's really not like this is the particular reason why I'm applying to schools in these two states. I think I applied to schools in Kansas. I applied to one school in Oklahoma. But because then I was in the oil and gas industry, I was doing projects of let's say research. My bachelor's research thesis was in petroleum geology. So basically, first priority for my graduate degree research would be any research interest in petroleum geology. And most universities in Texas offer those kind of graduate program. So that's why
Oh,
I apply for those. And when it comes to Ohio, it's not like most universities apply for that. It's just that some of the groups, WhatsApp group that I joined, they kind of like shared opportunity that, oh, this school at this time is offering this waiver, or this school is doing this, or this school. I just want to apply. Like, if I'm, especially if I'm not paying, I don't mind pushing out any kind of application. It was really stressful then. I'll put this out there. It was really, really stressful. Applying to like plenty school. I know some persons that said they applied to over 20 schools. So if you hear me say 12, some persons have done more than that. It's just that I think one thing that helped me to be able to apply for this much application is because I had recommenders that are willing to get on the go and roll with me. I'd explained to them that I want to apply for as much schools as possible. So please be ready to provide me recommendations letters as early as possible. So I had understanding recommenders. And I also had my package, ready. I have different templates for different kind of research. I think then I had two type of research in mind. One, the petroleum geology that I was currently doing. And one was a project relating to geophysics, basically. So I had two different templates for whatever I'm doing, and whichever opportunity fits in that, I just submit my application.
You need to apply. Nice
Yeah.
one. Nice. Okay. For these applications that you made, the 12 schools you were applying to, what did your packet look like? What was your profile looking like? You mentioned tests, you prepare for GRE. So did you get very good in the GRE? How was your undergraduate GPA? Did you write the TOEFL? Did you have publications? Like, what did your profile look like when applying to these schools?
Thank you. So like I mentioned initially about my acceptance as a scholar for the iScholar initiative. So the initiative paid for my GRE and TOEFL.
Okay.
So I had a score over 300 on the GRE, and for my TOEFL, I had over 100. Wait,
Nice.
I think about 100 or 100, somewhere in between. I'm not so sure at this point for my TOEFL. And
Nice.
then because the initiative just started, the goal for the initiative then was to just pay for GRE. But then they got more sponsors in the
Okay.
organization. So they then decided that, okay, for students that got above this score on the GRE, they will fund their TOEFL. So when I got that offer to be funded for TOEFL also, that gave me like more courage to look out for schools that are accepting these two tests. Because then during COVID, some schools were giving waiver for GRE, and some schools gave waiver for students that are coming from, countries where they speak English as the
English, yeah.
yes. But some schools were still like they wanted these two tests, even
Okay.
then during COVID, because that it was during, it was in 2019 that I started my application. So 2019 into 2020. So I had all this ready. So I had my TOEFL, I had my GRE. For my undergrad, I finished with a second class upper from Futo. So I had that. And then I I think before I started, after graduating from my undergrad, I had published a paper. And
Okay.
during my application window, I published two more papers. So in the whole package of my submission for my graduate school, I had about three publications in
Nice.
addition to my profile. Plus, I was working in the oil and gas industry. So I had to use that to package myself about industry experience, that I know this already. I've been doing work on this already. So if you hire me into your research lab, I'm coming with experience.
Experience, relevant experience.
Yes. So I think those were some of the things that I kind of like put in my application that I believed gave my application like a good stance against
Okay.
others that were submitting, like, and that gave me a good chance of being accepted too. But I will put this out there. Your profile doesn't have to be like my profile. You don't need to have GRE, TOEFL, publications, research experience to get a good offer from a good university in the USA. There have been people that have gotten offers without even GRE. There have been people that have gotten offers without the TOEFL. There have been
Yeah.
people that have gotten offers even without any publications, right? So it
Yeah.
just depends on whatever you have. Use that as your strength in your application and package yourself very well and put God or whatever you believe in. Believe in that, yes. For me, it was God, the God factor, and I always say that to people. Let that also be as part of your application profile. Like, God is the most important factor if you're a believer, you know, and then just do your own homework and things will work out for you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so now let's talk about the scholarship that you got. Let's talk about scholarship you got. Was it a merit-based scholarship? Was it a graduate assistantship? What kind of scholarship did you get with the one school, which I believe is Bowling Green State University, that made you able to come?
Huh. Well, I'm not on the admission committee or the review committee to say that this is what made my application stronger when I had applied. But I knew for my set of class that was admitted, I was the only Nigerian in my class. And I
Wow.
was admitted into the School of Earth and Environmental Sciences at Bowling Green State University. The offer came, um, okay, I'll go back and say this. So I'd applied in 2019 to start in the fall of 2020.
COVID
So
year.
yes, COVID year. So I got my admission letter in, was that March or was it early April? Sometimes in between then, I got my admission offer and I got a funding offer.
Okay.
But COVID hit, and because of COVID, I couldn't resume that semester.
Mm.
So, during COVID, I was sending emails because people were still working like remotely. I was sending emails to the graduate coordinator then that, oh, there is COVID, everywhere is shut down. I can't go to the embassy for an
Yeah, they were not issuing visa.
yeah,
They were not issuing
there
visas.
is no
So
way I could come. And then they gave the opportunity that, okay, one thing would be to start my classes online in the fall of
okay.
2020. But if that happens, they cannot give me funding from abroad because my funding is a teaching assistantship, and the teaching assistantship requires I am on
In the
campus
US
for them
present.
to pay me for my stipend. And the teaching assistantship, the GA also comes with scholarship for tuition. And because I'm not going to be paid for TA, there is no way they would give me the scholarship to cover my courses. So technically, if I would be registering for courses in the fall of 2020, I would have to pay from out of pocket. That wasn't a good offer for me. Coupled with the fact that I cannot cope with the time difference. I'm working in the oil and gas industry. I live in Lagos where you have to travel for like an hour in traffic or more, to get to work. And then I'm stressed by the time I get back home and you want me to attend classes in the night and I'll still have to pay for it and I'll have to pay for internet to, attend classes. I'm like, I don't think I can do this in the fall. So I had to reach out to the graduate coordinator that can I defer to spring. I knew then that some of my colleagues, they automatically got a deferral to resume in the spring of 2021. But some of us, like myself, I had to ask for my admission to be deferred.
Okay.
And when I asked if my admission can be deferred, I also asked if my funding can be deferred. Because if you defer my admission and you're telling me I'm losing this funding, is as well as take back your offer. So I had to ask and put that condition. And then the graduate coordinator was like, he's not sure, but he can ask the committee if that could be possible. But as God would have it, it was possible. They deferred both my admission and my graduate assistant
Yeah.
to resume in the spring of 2021, which was when I started my master's in the USA. So I hope
Nice.
you answer your question.
Yes, 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 you did. This was very similar to what actually happened to me. I was going to start in fall 2020, and then COVID hit, embassies were closed, so we couldn't go for visas. And I had this option too. I received a graduate assistantship and had this option too of start online or defer
Defer.
your admission. Yes, but my program, you could still be given a tuition waiver, although you won't be paid the GA stipend.
I see.
Yeah, yeah, you won't be paid GA stipend because you must be in the US to receive that one, but you
Oh,
could still get the tuition waiver. So I started online, and so they were covering the tuition. I just had to pay like the student fees. Yeah,
it's yeah.
but the tuition they were covering it, but I was not receiving stipends. I didn't have to pay health insurance.
Yeah.
So yeah, so different programs, I guess, different formats. Several people are asking in the chat about recommenders. So I want us to talk about that a little. You applied to 12 schools. First of all, how many recommenders did you have to apply to those 12 schools? And what advice would you give for people struggling to get willing recommenders?
Oh, thank you. So one thing I'll put out first is your first recommender would be your advisor. I'm not sure if that's still the name they use for it in Nigeria. Let it not be that the US system has gotten it to me.
Project supervisor.
Project supervisor, yes. So that would be your first point of contact. And people in your committee, for your undergraduate thesis program, your favorite, lecturer, or the lecturer that the lecturer may be your favorite, but you may not be their favorite. So you have to look for lecturers that you are their favorites, like in some way, maybe not 100% favorite, but in some way. And then you need to, I'm saying you need to because I'm putting this out there because that was what I did. You need to make them understand at the beginning of your application that I would want to apply for this and I would be needing your recommendation for this. They will let you know ahead of time if it's something they can do or if it's something they cannot do. So this was one of the conversations I had with my project supervisor and my then HOD. He was the HOD then.
Okay.
Being the HOD, like I had a good rapport with him, I had a good communication with him, and I made him understand because I was one of his favorites. So that's why this comes in. He was one of my favorite lecturer, and I was also one of his favorite students.
Students.
So
Nice.
I had to use the opportunity, like, oh, I want to do this, like this is how much. So in fact, it was my HOD, and it was the one that appeared on all my recommendations for all the schools I applied to. His recommendation always comes in on time. In fact, the first person to always submit a recommendation, and he will send me an email. He has submitted this recommendation, then I'll send him. This is the next one. So we keep going one after the other. So you need someone like that on your list that is ready to go. So if you have someone like that, 1/3 is done because I think most schools request for 3 recommenders.
Mm. Some
Then
two, the most three.
yeah. So then my project supervisor is a busy man, but whenever he's available, I use him. Whenever he's not available, I use another member of the faculty members that I'm also a kind of like his favorite. And then I also had recommenders from the industry where I'm working at, the oil
Okay.
and gas industry. So I would say I had about 5 recommenders, and I
Nice.
have one priority that is always on all my recommendation list, then my HOD. Then the 4 of them, I will switch based on your response from the last request I sent to you. If I see you were fast with the last response, then I'll send you the second one. If I see you're not fast, then I'll send you. I also strategize the recommenders I use based on the school I'm applying for or based on the research I want to go do. So if I say that I'm applying for a petroleum geology based research, I used, that my HOD, I use my project supervisor because he's a petroleum geologist. And then I use somebody from the oil and gas industry that I work with. Because I know when these people talk about themselves and what they do, they stand at a good point to like recommend students in terms of the experience the student has and in terms of what they can tell about the students. And then if I'm applying for a program that has to do with research in geophysics, I use some of my geophysics lecturers back in school. Then, one thing I'll also put out there, especially in Nigeria, and I'm sure this is also relevant to other African countries, is that be nice to your recommenders.
Right. I was
You
gonna
know,
say that. Like,
I
go
don't
ahead.
want what I mean. Like you guys watching, you know what I mean. Be nice to your recommenders. Treat them well.
Hmm.
Treat them well. Show them love. That's the word. That's the word. That's the right word. That's the
Hmm.
word we use then. Show them love. It's when you show them love to appreciate what they are doing, they'll be
Hmm.
willing to give you more letters.
Yeah.
They'll be willing to respond to your chat. They will not just mute you. But if you've not shown them love, you've not appreciated them, like, and you're coming back for more letters, it could be challenging. Like they may not prioritize you. So that's important to put out there too. I hope that answers your
Thank
question.
you. Thank you. It does very well. So people that you have a good relationship with, as that's when you were doing your undergrad, you tell them your plans. So you're not just telling them that I am applying to this school, I'll put you as a recommender already. No. You're telling them your plans before even you start applying, so that it's as if you are getting mentorship from them. And of course, they would want to see you succeed, most likely. Then also to show them love and appreciation. It's not like you're bribing them or anything. You are just appreciating them because it is effort and time that they're going to use to submit these recommendations for you. Okay, so let's talk about your experience in the embassy getting a visa. So you deferred your admission. You were now going to come in spring 2021. So how was your interview like? Which of the embassies did you do it at?
Thank you. So, like I mentioned earlier, I joined this WhatsApp group, and then we had information flying about available data at this embassy. This is what you need to do and how to prepare. I'll start first. When the embassy opened, I think that was October 2020 or November. I'm not certain. So immediately when we got the notice that the embassy was going to be opened, we all, as a group of aspirants, then prospective students, we all were tracking out dates and giving each other information about, oh, these dates is available, these dates is available. So you need to put yourself in such an environment where information is being given about availability of interview dates at whatever embassy. They would even give that, oh, date is available in at the Abuja embassy or Lagos embassy, and you could easily be able to like track which embassy to submit your application. I had initially wanted to go to the Abuja embassy, but because I was working in Lagos, that would require extra expenses to travel down to Abuja. So I decided to just stay back in Lagos.
Okay.
Then remember there were a lot of negative comments flying about those are for interviews in Lagos. So that really kept a lot of us prospective students then on our toes. Some persons were scared and they just went to Abuja. But I consider the whole, expenses, and then I consider that this funding I have is a full funding. It came with, I think, a deficit of less than 8,000, and I have savings that can cover for that. So in terms of like that answering that question, I feel like I was good. And then I had good work experience. So I believed in myself and I had faith in God that the embassy, my interview would go well. So I did my interview in Lagos. I got my dates. On the day of the interview, before the interview, on this WhatsApp group, we had done a mock interview where you would have people that have done the interviews before, people that are currently in the US. There would be the demo VO, and then they will ask you questions,
Yeah.
and you respond, and they will give you feedback. I had also written out a script for myself about possible questions VOs could ask. And I had written down my responses on how I would answer them and try to like practice with that so that, it doesn't seem like I'm reciting something to the VO, even though it's what I wrote down for myself, but trying to be natural with it, but trying to know what point to give to the VO at the right time. So that was another way I had prepped for my interview. Then on the day of the interview, I went there early. There's always that rush. Go there early, go with all your documents, make sure you photocopy how many pages, just so to avoid being exploited or extortion at the entrance of the embassy.
Embassy.
I was
Mm.
prepared for everything. And then going into the embassy, I was like, oh wow, so this is how everything feels like. Everything people have been telling you online on the group, it becomes reality that day. And then when I got in, did the scan, went through. Um, when we got to this inner room with all the views, I think I was just observing which VO is asking this kind of question, which viewers have been denying people. Because that was one of the things that I was told also before going to the interview. Like, you want to be tactic about whatever you want to do. Watch out on VO's responses and VO's attitude to other people, and try to see if you can push yourself to the nice VO. I've had people use the excuse of if they see that, oh, it's getting to their turn and they may go to a mean VO, they'll try to go to the bathroom and use the bathroom as an excuse just to skip that VO. That can work. But I was just keeping my mute. I didn't have to do that. I was just, praying in my mind and, getting ready for my interview. I think my interview lasted for less than 2 minutes. I didn't time it, but it was really less than 2 minutes.
Very quick. Okay.
Yeah, very quick. They asked for my documents. I gave it to them. And then they asked, where are you going? Of course, I gave my answers. I'm going to this school. Why are you going there? I give my answers. And while was giving my answers, I was letting them know about my current experience and what I really want to go do there. So being specific with what you want to do. And then they asked, do I have funding? Then I made them understand that, yes, I have funding for the school that covers this amount, and the remaining deficit will be covered from my personal savings. I went with my personal bank account
Bank
statement.
account. Okay.
Yeah, I went with my bank statement, and then they asked about my travel history. I had been to Ghana before coming to the USA, so I told them. They checked that, and then they asked about, I think there was something regarding home tie. I can't remember how the question was put, but I had to let them know that, oh, this company that I'm currently working with, I went with my employment letter, that this company I'm currently working with, I intend to come back and take up this position after my master's degree to continue working at this company. So, and everything was like really so quick. And
Right.
it was like, okay, thank you. I've approved your visa. And, collected the document. And then I was confused, like, is that all? Like, no, no, no. Seriously, seriously. Like, I didn't know how to feel because I wasn't too happy and I wasn't sad. I was just surprised, like, okay, is that all? Like, that's it. So they've collected my passport. So I'll be going to the USA. It was after I left the embassy and I started like thinking about the whole thing. Then it dawned on me that yes, pinch yourself. This is the reality. Yes, you're going to
They're
the
going.
yes, you've gotten the visa. That was when, yeah, that was when I had the old rush in my blood that yes, this is the reality. But at that point, I was like, okay, so the interview was just done. So it can be as quick as possible. But the most important thing is be prepared. Know what you want to say it naturally, and try to be convincing. Right? I've had people that you can say everything, you can say plenty things, and just shoot yourself in the leg and still be denied. So it's about like being convincing. Don't tell lies.
Right.
Don't tell lies. Like you're not the first person coming to them to tell a lie, and you're not the first person coming to them to be diplomatic. So don't,
Sweet
yes,
grammar.
yes. We've had experiences of students that will go and blow grammar. After all the grammar you blow,
It's still be
like
denied.
yeah, you
Like,
see denied. So I was saying this out there again, the God factor, having faith and doing your own part. Have your confidence, be confident in whatever responses you're being given, and say what they want to hear. That's important. Say what the VO wants to hear, and have proof to support whatever you want to say. Yeah.
right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Confidence, confidence, answering convincingly is, it can be overemphasized, really, because your body gestures, the way you're responding, how your words are flowing, VOs, they are psychologists, so they are trained to detect all these things, hesitations in your voice, all these things that give them an impression that this person is trying to frame a lie, or is not telling the truth, that kind of thing. Um, Anyways, congratulations on your surprising moment of getting a visa. And okay, you came over to the US, you had your masters, and you completed it. Then you were going to start your PhD. So let's talk about that experience, because I believe a lot of people will learn so much from it. So how was the transition for you? How many schools did you apply to?
Thank you. So I will put this out there though, for those of you that may not be aware, you can get into the US directly from your undergraduate degree into a PhD program. So you don't have to apply for a master's first if your goal is to go for a PhD. So with your bachelor's degree, you can go straight into a PhD program. I applied to go straight into PhD, but I didn't get that offer. It was the master's program offer that I got. So after my master's degree, or before completing my master's degree, of course, if you're in the US, you need to plan ahead a semester ahead before your graduation on what is your escape route. When I mean
Right.
escape, it means what is your next step. Are you having a job offer, or are you having another graduate
Admission
program?
offer.
That's it. You need to start preparing for that a semester before you graduate, because the job market is not funny in the US.
Hmm.
So then, a semester before I graduate, I was looking into, I think then to go for a job was my priority. So I was
Okay.
applying for jobs, and I was like, for graduate program, I was really being specific because I was not so much interested in it. I'll be real with you guys. I wasn't really too motivated to apply to graduate programs. But I was applying for job, and then I got one of my mentees then sent me a LinkedIn post, because I'm not on LinkedIn, sent me a LinkedIn post from my current advisor that, oh, she saw this online and she felt like if it's something I would want to do. And I was like, I don't want to go for a PhD, but it wouldn't hurt to just apply. So my current school is the first school I applied to. And then on my thesis committee member, I had an external advisor from another school in Montana. And then I thought, oh, since I know her already, to just be good to just go for a PhD in her program, because the school, Bowling Green State University, where I did my master's, they do not have a PhD program. If they had a PhD program, I'm not leaving that school, because my advisor is a good person and I really enjoy working with him. So I wouldn't
Wow.
want to leave. But because we don't have a PhD program, so I have to like go outside for PhD. So I had Montana University on University of Montana and Virginia Tech. Those were the two schools I applied for my PhD. And then I was applying for job. But then, like I would say it too, human proposes but God disposes, right?
Hmm.
I wanted this, but God has better plans for me. That's why I say if you believe in God, or if you are a believer, you need to take that as a priority too, because this is what works for me. So I was planning I would go into the industry and work, but God has a plan that you should go for your PhD. So I couldn't get any job offer before I got a PhD offer. So I got my PhD first before the job. I think few job offers came in. And then for my PhD, when I applied, when one of my mentees sent me that notification from LinkedIn, I'd reached out to my advisor, my current advisor, sent her my application. And then she was interested in me because I was currently a Nigerian in the lab that had given good review about me. So she wants to meet me. So when we met over Zoom, we talked about what I'm doing, my research. And then it happens that my current research that I was working on for my thesis is one of our research interests. So that's how she picked interest in me. And then I was going to submit application fee. That's why this is another thing. Never keep quiet. If you need something, don't keep quiet. I was going to submit application and they request application fee.
Mhm.
I'm just like, I don't want to pay for this application fee, right? So I had reached out to her that is she able to, give me funding to pay for my application fee, and she gladly accepted that she's going to cover my application fee. So technically, I got a free
Wow.
application for that also, yes. So, but if
Wow.
I had not asked, then I wouldn't get that. So that's why it's good to ask, right? Ask, please. What scenarios you'll be told no, and it doesn't hurt.
Right.
Asked her, and then she normal thing, even though I had been in communication with her, she just had to like put in a word that yes, she wants to accept this student because I was going to come in the spring because I completed my masters in December, and then I was going to start up in the spring. So I'll divert a bit to say this. If you're looking to apply to start in the spring semester, there's usually limited graduate assistantships.
Yeah.
So there is more research assistantship in the spring than than teaching assistantships. You would get more offer of assistantship if you're applying to start in the fall. That there's usually more teaching assistantships or even research assistantship. So coming back to my story, because I was going to resume in the spring semester, she has funding for research assistantship. So all she had to do to put out to the committee, to the admission committee is, I already met with this student and I want to hire this student. She's coming in for her rate, so I'm paying for her. So, and that's where that came in. But I still had to like submit my application like every other person. Even in fact, I had to submit before the deadline because I think I met her and she concluded she was going to hire me very close to the deadline. So I had little time to submit my application before the school's deadline closes. Because even if I submit after the deadline, and even if she wants to give me the offer, she's not the school, right? That will give me the
Right.
so I had to submit before the offer. And then for my recommendation letter, I just used my current master's advisor and one other person from my committee member for my recommendation for that, and then submitted my package. They still required GRE. My TOEFL has expired then because it was going to be about 2 years then. But because I had already gotten a degree from US, a school in
Yes,
the
university.
yes, so that requirement was waived. But I still had to use my GRE because it was still valid then. And I mean, I just submitted every other thing, and yeah, I got funded and I got accepted at Virginia Tech, and that's where I currently am doing my research.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Um, what would you say is the best experience you've had as an international student so far?
I would say doing this PhD. One,
Wow.
yes, that's why I say when God has a plan for you, He has the best for you. That's been my best experience so far because it's giving me a lot of opportunity that I even didn't had while doing my masters. Right? It's giving me a lot of exposures. It's giving me a lot of connections to more people. But generally, it will be connecting with people. My best experience, apart from doing the PhD, even with doing the PhD, would be connecting with people from different background, different other countries apart from the US. Like it's been exciting for me because I've had the opportunity to meet with these people to kind of like, learn about their cultures, learn about what they do, enrich myself.
Right.
Also, another experience that I'm happy to share is about working on my research, which still boils down to like my whole PhD study. So I think for me that's been my best experiences so far being an international student in the US.
Great. Okay,
Mm.
so based on all these experiences that you've had, would you recommend anyone watching us now to consider studying in the US?
Let me ask you people, if you don't consider studying in the US, where do you want to study? Like, because the evidence is clear. I would say US is the best place to. to come and study as an international student, if you're able to get funding, you enjoy it here. I mean, I've not been to other country, I've not schooled in other country, so maybe I'm not in a good position to kind of like compare. But from my experiences of my friends that have been to other countries to study, and even I've seen students that have studied in other country for masters and still come to the US for PhD or even for another master's. But it's
Right.
difficult for you to see a student that have been in the US for a program and then go
And,
to another country.
yeah, right. It's hard.
Right? It's hard. So then the question puts that if people are going to other country for a program first and then they are still coming to the US for another degree, why wouldn't you want to just pursue the best and come
Right.
to the US in the first place? So yes, I would advise you, if any country you want to put on your priority, US should be the top on your priority, and the US schools, and do your diligence, do your own work, put out your best foot in your application, whatever application. Don't take anyone lightly, and don't look down on any application you're making. Always put out your best in each and every application, and with God's grace, you'll get it. You'll be here. And we might meet one day and you tell me, oh, I saw you on Nzube's podcast. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. So I look forward to seeing you guys in the US someday, soon in the future. Please consider coming to the US if you haven't. Yeah.
Right, right. Thank you so much. The reason why I usually ask that question is because making that transition takes work. So it has to be something that you are committed to doing. Then you're not just interested in studying in the US, but you actually are committed. You want to make it a reality. So you're willing to go the extra mile, no matter the experiences you've had. We've had people on this show that finished with 2-2 in their first degree. We had people that didn't write any test. We had people that they wrote GRE, but they got less than 300 and they couldn't even use the results. People have had different challenges, but they still fought and were able to finally make the transition. Yes, which is very good. Okay, before we get into the questions in the chat that people have dropped, I just want to mention that Esther is also a YouTuber. She also shares a lot of content like this on studying in the US. So I'll put the link to her channel in the description below after this live so that you guys can also check it out. She has a lot of helpful videos, school recommendations based on GPA category. So her videos are really, really good. You guys should check it out.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so let's go straight to the chat. There are several questions here. The first from Marine. It says, what are scholarships offered at the master's level?
Okay. In terms of the US schools, USA schools or schools in the US, so they're usually GAs. We call that graduate assistantships. And it could come in three folds. The first is the graduate research assistantship. You can get a GRA, graduate research assistantship, for a master's degree program if it's available with your advisor. So for that, you will need to have an advisor who is willing to fund you, that they have a research they are working on, they have a project, and they have funding on that project to hire a graduate student, either for master's or PhD. And if you have an advisor or you've been in communication with such a person, they can put you on research assistantship. The second one is the GTA, which is graduate teaching assistantships. That comes from the department. So if your current advisor or the person you're talking to does not have a research funding to support you on RA, the department, if you meet the qualification and you're accepted and for an admission offer, the department can put you on a teaching assistantship. So for that means you are not just doing research, you would also be teaching some undergraduate courses, and they'll be paying you for that, more like paying you for salary. But for research assistantship, you're not going to be teaching, you're going to be doing research for your advisor, and he or she will be paying you salary or stipend for doing that research. And then the third is graduate administrative assistant. So that it can come from any other department other than your primary department. It can come from the schools, like how do I put it? Like graduate school offices. It can come from other offices in the school that it is not even an academic department. For example, it could be like you are working in the international students offices as maybe, if it's okay for me to use the word, as a receptionist or as a front desk officer or something like that, you're working for the school, officially working for the school, so they can put you on an administrative assistant. So you're doing administrative role for a department in the school or for an office in the school. You can also get funding in that aspect. So each of these graduate assistantship comes with tuition waivers or comes with scholarships. So this scholarship is, apart from the fact that they are paying you stipend, which is salary, for whatever work you're doing, either the research, either the teaching, or either the administrative role. They're paying you stipend, which you would use as your living expenses. They would also cover your tuition, which is then the scholarship. So if you're, whatever classes you're going to be taking to meet your requirements, whatever classes you enrolled for, they would pay for that. They would.
Right.
Yes. So it all depends. The old scholarship package is what comes together. In the US, it comes scholarship with stipend. So it's all like an holistic package. And we rather use the word funding for that. So funding covers scholarship, which is the tuition support, and it covers your assistantship, which is your stipend. Some scholarships come with full health insurance. Some come with half health insurance. Some don't come with insurance at all. In addition, to support your master's degree or even PhD, there are external scholarships that you can apply for, even while in Nigeria. So you need to look out for that. Like, there are some scholarships that they would have requirements that you must be an international student going to study in the US. There are some scholarships that would just say, that will just be open to all international students going to study in any country. So you can apply for that as a support, in addition to whatever you're being given from your school. You can also use that for either a master's or a PhD program. I hope that answers Marin's question.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. External scholarships and then GAs. Majority of the students here are on GAs, probably like 90%. People that are funded in the US, the national students are funded. But then we now have a couple others that are on external scholarships. Some even have both. Like they have the GA and the external as well. So there are several scholarships available. Thank you. Karine is saying, can any lecturer recommend you outside a professor or a doctor?
I don't understand what you mean by or a doctor. Is it doctor in terms of title or in terms of profession? But I would answer the first one, if can any lecturer recommend you outside of a professor. So you want someone that would recommend.
Sorry. I think the doctor means like someone with a PhD.
Okay. So there is no requirement on who can recommend you or who should recommend you, but it's usually advisable that whoever is recommending you have good things to say about you. They know you, they know your work, what you've done, and it's usually advisable that whoever is recommending you should probably be someone in the academia that understands the rule of, recommendation. You don't just, if you're not able to get these persons, you can use whoever you have to submit a recommendation. But what I'm trying to say, the prestige of whoever is recommending you can also play a role, right? It's just like, let me put this in this scenario. I'm trying to go to a restaurant to eat, and someone that doesn't know or that doesn't have a taste board or that hasn't been to a restaurant before is trying to tell me to go to a restaurant or trying to refer me to a restaurant. The person doesn't have a first-hand experience of what it means eating in that restaurant, so I may not want to trust their judgment better than someone that has an experience in that eating in that restaurant. So what I'm just trying to say here is, most recommendation letters, the person recommending you, your recommender, tells about themselves in the letter first. So for example, if I'm getting a recommendation letter for two different students, and one letter is telling me that, oh, I'm a professor in this place, I do research in this area, and I'm recommending, I believe I'm in a good position to recommend this person, this student. And then the other person is coming from the perspective of, oh, I don't work in the industry, but I work in the industry, or I'm doing this or I'm doing that, but I can tell this about the person. So if the person's work experience relates to the position you are applying for, that's good. If the person's work experience, when I mean the person now, your recommenders, if your recommenders' work experience, even if they are not professors, does not relate to the position you are applying for, I don't think they're a good fit to be your recommenders for that position, which is a graduate position, right? So if you don't have somebody that is a professor or that has a PhD, but the person is in the industry and the person has a work experience that is relating to the research position you're trying to apply for, then you can still use them.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Another question on recommenders. I guess we're receiving several questions today. Second, we're saying I learned data analysis in a vocational training institute. They are willing to recommend me, but I learned that if your recommender uses Gmail, that the recommender will likely not be taken seriously. So this is probably down someone that, okay, you've seen, like what you just said, other people, professors, and maybe they can't get enough to cover from there, and they want this person that can vouch for their data analysis skills. What will you say about this?
I would say if the person have an official email address, that would be great, other than a Gmail, because Gmail is usually regarded as personal email. But if they can use their company's email address, that still puts it on a more prestige level. However, I mean, that would be my priority in suggestions to them, right? That, oh, of course, even if you're working in whatever company, you still have an official email address. So
Email address. Yeah.
commit with that official email address other than a Gmail, then that would be right. Like you said, with some recommender with a Gmail address will likely not be taken serious. That's true because it's a personal email address if it's not the student's email. So if it's coming from a recommender, it's advised if they can use their official email address, or if they can use, even if they would use a Gmail, is if they can use an official letterhead to write their recommendation, that will still make it a little bit more prestigious in submitting and consideration.
Okay. Thank you. Chigozie is saying, I'm having problems and serious headache with proof of funds. My parents are retired. My aunt and uncle who were to help me are unfortunately not able to at the moment. How can I go about it? Thanks. I have two responses for this. Probably you can chime in. The first is, just as Esther generously said, you can apply for a PhD. So in the US, majority of we have more funded PhD programs, fully funded. I mean that you don't have to pay anything. You just carry yourself to the embassy with your I-20. No need for proof of funds or bank statement, anything. We have a lot of PhD programs that are fully funded compared to masters. So if proof of funds is going to be a very big issue, then you can consider applying straight for PhD program. So what does this mean? Your application packet has to be more competitive. Yeah, because probably you're now applying only with a bachelor's. You may have to write the GRE, get some publications, work experience, all these things to beef up your profile so that you can get fully funded and not have to show proof of funds. Another option is to get an external scholarship. If you watch episode 5 of this podcast where I interviewed Barbara is from Ghana. She got fully funded from Fulbright. And so Fulbright covers everything, like tuition, they pay you living expenses, they cover your flights, they really take care of you. They give you soft landing as you're coming to the US. Yes, so external scholarships, episode 7 spoke to a MasterCard scholar. That's another external scholarship too that's able to cover everything. So these are the different options that you have. You can apply straight for a PhD program, get fully funded and come, or you apply for an external scholarship like Fulbright, MasterCard, and then win the scholarship and then come over. Yeah. So do you have anything to add to that, Esther?
Thank you so much, Nzube. I think you gave great answers. And if I would have something, it would be follow what Nzube has said, because that's just about it. I would not advise, I know some other persons would say you can get a loan. I would not advise getting a loan to study abroad, because I just wouldn't advise that, because I don't know what your plan would be if you want to go that route, but the best route I would say is looking for external funding and putting your best in applying for the PhD or even a master's and trying to put the best foot forward to see if you can get a fully funded offer, and also try to apply for the external scholarships. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Kola Wale is saying, I recently graduated with a second class upper in physics and plan to apply for a master's in medical physics in the US. I'll appreciate your advice on the application. I think I'll allow you to give an advice here.
Bukola only said hello, sir. You're pushing it to me. That's okay.
You're a guest on the show, right?
Okay. So advice application. Let me see. So I would say just follow the usual application procedure. So look out schools in the USA that are doing medical physics as a program or as a research. And then if you're able to get the list of those schools, then go into the school's website and look out for faculty members that are doing this kind of research you want to do. Any faculty member doing research in medical physics, and reach out to them. See if they're accepting students, look out the different publications they've had, and then try to reach out to them that you would want to do this is your background, and see if they have position in accepting students in their lab or for their program. I think that's one thing I can say in terms of like applying for medical physics with a physics background, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're ready. Thank you. Thank you so much. Kola Wale, your first degree is already in line with what you want to study, physics, medical physics, and you got a 2-1. So your GP is above the 3.0 over 4.0 threshold. Yes, so it's really just to do research, find the schools, reach out to program coordinators, shortlist universities, and prepare a strong application to submit. Yes, there are several videos on this channel, even on Esther's channel as well, that would put you in the right track. Yes, on the things you need to do to be able to submit a strong application. All right, we are on top of the hour. Just to wrap things up, Esther, any final advice to anyone? Your final advice to anyone who wants to study abroad on a scholarship for Masters and Ph.D, just like yourself?
First thing I'll say is start early. Once you know you want to go for a degree program in the US or even in any other country, start early. Do your research thoroughly, do your homework thoroughly. Once you start and you make a decision, get a list of things you need to do and things you need to put in your application packet and start working on them. Start researching schools, advisors you want to work with, reaching out to them early, do your homework and your research thoroughly. Next advice would be to network with people who have gone through the process. You have great people like Nzube giving back to the community, bringing people who have gone through the process to talk to you and to share their experiences, to motivate you, to let you know that you can do it. So if these people have done it, you can do it. There is no exception, right? And if they've been able to do it and you believe in yourself that you also can do it, you need to talk to them. You need to network with them. Let them know these are the challenges you have. Let them be able to put you through. Seek for help. Another thing I would say would be for you to focus on building a strong application profile. That's important because that's how you're going to put your best foot forward. If you're not able to afford GRE or TOEFL and you're good in every other aspect, put that into your priority and let that speak for you. If you think the program you want to go for, it's necessary for you to have the GRE or the TOEFL, try and apply for scholarships or try and look for funding that can help you cover this test. Like I mentioned, the iScholar initiative. If you're able to get their scholarship, they will pay for your GRE and pay for your TOEFL, right? They will even give you mentorship on how to go about like the graduate application processes and even when you come to the US. So look out for these opportunities that can support you one way or the other. If you don't have work experiences, try and get one, even if it is a voluntary opportunity, right? These are some of the things that will help you to make a good application profile when you're submitting your application. Don't hesitate to reach out for mentorship. Anybody in your this thing, go online. When I mean go online, I mean go on professional social media pages like LinkedIn, for example. You would see people that have been in the kind of school you want to go to, that are current students there. You can reach out to them, ask them questions, right? Ask them for mentorship, ask them if they can review your profile. It can be challenging sometimes, or it can be overwhelming for students that are currently here in the USA. So if you hear a no from someone, it's not because they don't want to do it. It's because they are really overwhelmed with their current graduate program. Don't be discouraged to ask someone else to help mentor you on this journey. Scholarships and opportunities are out there, and there are a whole lot of them. It's only if you're determined and you do your work right that you can be able to get such opportunities. And Nzube has said on several of his podcast episodes, he has brought people or students that have had external scholarships other than the school. Look at these scholarships, the MasterCard, like he mentioned, the Fulbright, like he mentioned, there
Right.
are lots other than that. Research about the scholarships. What does it take to apply for this scholarship? It doesn't hurt if you have full funding from your school and you have additional support from the scholarship. Then you have more funding to support you and to live a comfortable life while studying in the USA. So
Mm.
yeah, I think you just have to be determined and start early and believe in God if you're a believer. And if you're not, just do whatever best works for you and believe in
Thank
yourself.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. How can people find you? Where can they find you? Your channel?
My channel, my YouTube channel is just my name, Esther Oyedele. LinkedIn,
Okay.
yeah, I think
Okay.
you can find me everywhere else on other social media, but you will see me as different things on every other social media. So if what you're looking for is the serious me, and in terms of like graduate education, I would say my YouTube is the best place to actually reach me in terms of like school opportunities. My LinkedIn also could be good in terms of like chatting once in a while. And yeah, so
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll put links to your YouTube channel and your LinkedIn profile as well in the description below so that everyone that's watching this can always have direct access and reach out to you as well. All right. Thank you. This was a very, very wonderful time. It
thank
was a
you
very
so
wonderful
much
time.
for the invite. Like, it's really an honor to be here on your podcast and to be able to talk to your diverse audience. Like, I appreciate the invite. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining us today. It's been a very wonderful time. Till we meet again, remember that it's possible. Keep pursuing your dreams. Keep pursuing your dreams. It's very possible. If you've not subscribed already, please hit the subscribe button so you can be a member of the community, really. And then I'll see you again next week. Goodbye.